Chapter 11. From the obituary notices of the 9th Marquis of Oakham, the following selections have their interest. He succeeded to his father, then in the cabinet as Minister for Foreign Affairs, at the age of 21. His career was brief but singular. The early magnificence of the younger Pitt, offering a standard of comparison, though by no means a parallel, to his short record of astonishing achievement. His effect upon the world, as the chief of the Government Labor Department, and subsequently as Home Secretary and Minister of War, is described as shattering, even cataclysmic. His public life lasted 5 years. He died at the age of 29. His personality was revolutionary and overwhelming. Judging by these extracts, he was a Napoleonic figure whose personal influence combined the impetus of Mirabeau with the dominance of Alexander. His authority held an incalculable element, precisely described as uncanny. His spirit was puissant. His spirit was puissant, elemental, his activity irresistible. Yet, according to another journal, he was, properly speaking, neither intellectual, astute, nor diplomatic, and possessed as little subtlety as might be expected of a miner whose psychology was called upon to explain the Trinity. In no sense was he statesman, and even less strategist. Yet his name swept Europe, changed the map of the Nearer East. Its mere whisper among the chancelleries, convulsing men's councils with an influence almost menacing. His enthusiasm appears to have been amazing. Some stupendous and untiring energy drove through him, paralyzing attack and rendering the bitterest and most skillful opposition nugatory. His hand was imperious, upsetting with a touch the chessboards set by the most able statecraft, and his voice was heard with a kind of reverence in every capital. The brevity of his astonishing career called for universal comment, as did the hypnotizing effect of his singular ascendancy. In 5 short years of power, he achieved his sway. He rushed upon the world. He shook it. He retired. As one journal picturesquely phrased it. The manner of his ending, moreover, a strike of lightning, seemed in keeping with his life. There was neither lingering, delay, nor warning. Of distinguished stock, noble yet ordinary enough in all but name, his power is unexplained by heredity. His family furnished no approach to greatness, as history supplied no parallel to his dynamic intensity. Nor, we are informed, Among his near of kin, does any inherit his volcanic energy? The world, however, was apparently well relieved of his tumultuous presence, for his influence was generally surveyed as destructive rather than constructive. He was unmarried, and the title went to a nephew. The cheaper journals abounded, of course, in details of his personal and private life that were freely copied into the foreign press, and supply curious material for the student of human nature and the psychologist. The amazing revelations, no doubt, were picturesquely exaggerated, yet the substratum of truth in them was Yet the substratum of truth in them all was generally admitted. No contradictions, at any rate, appeared. They read like the story of some primitive wild giant let loose upon the world. Primitive, because his specific brain power was admittedly of no high order. Wild, because he was in favor of fierce, spontaneous action, and his mere presence, on occasions, could stir a nation, not alone a crowd, to vehement, terrific methods. His energy seemed inexhaustible, his fire inextinguishable. Legends were rife, even before he died, among the peasantry of his Scotch estates, that he was in league with the devil. His habit of keeping enormous fires in his private rooms, fires that burned day and night from January to December, and in open hearths widened to thrice their natural size, stimulated the growth of this particular myth among those of his personal environment. All manner of stories raged, but it was his strange custom out of doors that provided the diabolical suggestion, for behind a specially walled-in space of an open ridge, denuded of pines, in a distant part of the estate, a series of gigantic heaps of wood, all ready to ignite, were, it was said, kept in a state of constant preparedness, and on stormy nights, especially when winds were high, and invariably at the period of the equinoctial tempests, his lordship would himself light these tremendous bonfires, and spend the nocturnal hours in their blazing presence, communing, the stories variously relate, with the witches at their Sabbath, or with hordes of fire spirits who emerged from the bottomless pit in order to feed his soul with their unquenchable supplies. From these nightly orgies, it seems clear, at any rate, he returned at dawn with a splendor of energy that no one could resist, and with a mien whose grandeur invited worship, rather than inspired alarm. His biography, it was further stated, would be written by Sir John Hendricks, B.T., Baronet, who began life as private secretary to his father, the eighth Marquis, but whose rapid rise to position was due to his intimate association as trusted friend and advisor to the subject of these obituary notices. The biography, however, had not appeared within 5 years of Lord Oakham's sudden death, and curiosity is only is only further stimulated by the suggestive whisper, that it never will and never can appear. By the suggestive whisper that it never will and never can appear.